calorosa hospitalidade, apesar da vossa preocupação interna nesse momento. Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado, ministro Amado, pela sua presença. Daí reconhecermos o esforço realizado na preparação deste encontro. Muito obrigado. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, je tiens aussi à adresser nos meilleurs vœux au peuple de Côte d'Ivoire, pays hôte de notre siège. La résolution de la crise a en effet été un grand soulagement pour les Ivoiriens, pour la sous-région ouest-africaine et pour l'Afrique dans son ensemble. De surcroît, elle ouvre la voie à notre retour au siège lorsque les conditions, les services et les installations le permettront. Mais par-dessus tout, elle permet désormais à la Côte d'Ivoire de s'engager dans la longue voie de la réconciliation nationale et de la reconstruction. Nous savons parfaitement que la tâche n'est pas aisée et nous sommes prêts à jouer pleinement notre rôle ensemble avec la communauté internationale. Cet après-midi, j'aurai le plaisir de paraffer avec les autorités ivoiriennes notre appui budgétaire d'urgence de 130 millions de dollars. Cet appui à décaissement rapide a été approuvé à un temps record par notre Conseil la semaine dernière. Nous restons à jamais redevables au gouvernement et au peuple tunisien, qui ont généreusement soutenu la banque durant sa relocalisation temporaire. La Tunisie a toujours apporté à la banque le réconfort dont elle avait besoin, même pendant les moments les plus difficiles. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another momentous year in the life of the bank. With your support, we continue to fulfill our mandate as a flexible, responsive institution. The presentations and documents before you accurately resume the condition of our bank. Robust financial health, solid performance, despite the turbulences in the months leading to and the aftermath of the Tunisian revolution. Proof, if any, was needed of the underlying strength of our institution, delivering results as good as the peers, despite the events in North Africa and the 8 years uncertainty during our temporary relocation. There are very few institutions of international significance, if any, which have gone through our experience the crisis in the country of our headquarters, Côte d'Ivoire, the revolution in Tunisia, and yet has preserved its financial robustness and continued to provide first-class services to its clients. During the last 3 years, we have proved our mettle, responding with speed and innovation to successive crises. In particular, our effective counter-cyclical response to the financial crisis. Now we are winding down that counter-cyclical response and reverting to our traditional mission. But we must now stand ready to respond to the to respond to the new challenges, the eruption of socio-political discontent in North Africa and of late parts of sub-Saharan Africa, a volatile mix of youth unemployment, socio-economic exclusion, lack of genuine democracy, in short, governance deficits, now complicated by skyrocketing food prices. In the world we live in, the world of the internet, Twitter and Facebook, the people, especially the young, are all too aware of opportunities closed, freedoms denied, and aspirations frustrated. Put it another way, the lack of economic opportunity availed the explosive material, and failures in political governance provided a trigger. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, of late, several independent reports attest to the new economic momentum in the continent. Africa has bounced back from the global financial crisis, bruised but fitter. Of course, the buffers and cushions, which were critical in helping to weather the financial crisis, are now diminished, and skyrocketing food prices have added a layer of vulnerability. Risks and uncertainties abound. The latest statistics show that the global economy is still reeling from the aftershocks of the financial crisis, not only in the OECD area, but also it seems, in some of the BRIC countries. But there are also internal risks, mainly socio-political, food prices, not to say the long-standing structural issues, such as the lack of adequate energy, which constrains capacity to create wealth, jobs, and give hope to our people. Nonetheless, we remain very optimistic about the prospects of the African economy, provided the international environment does not worsen and remains benign. Some countries are beginning to clock the critical threshold of real GDP growth of 7%. A few even expect double-digit growth this year. As one would expect, North Africa is experiencing temporary disruptions in economic activity, the famous J curve. But in the medium term, fundamentals remain favorable. For the rest of Africa, the economy in 2011 will grow at between 5.6% and 6%. But as you could see in the rest of Africa, the people are looking for more than impressive headline statistics. Millions of people in Africa over the last decade have been lifted out of poverty, but we could have done better. So what are the lessons? What is it that we must now get right? There can be no lasting social gains without sustained growth. Given Africa's demographics dynamics, 7% GDP growth is the bare minimum. We must therefore continue to identify growth drivers, steadily eliminate growth bottlenecks such as infrastructure, transport, connectivity, and the energy deficit that stand in the way of faster growth and economic integration. Steadily, we're making progress. We're getting there. The last 5 years has seen a significant surge in infrastructure financing in Africa, reaching $55 billion in new investments last year alone. I'm proud to say that the African Development Bank has been leading the way, financing more than 150 new infrastructure projects over these last 5 years. We're proud that the African Union and African leaders have entrusted us with the mandate to bring Africa's infrastructure to a whole new level. But growth, strong as it is not enough. This is neither new nor controversial. We have enough evidence that economic growth that is not equitable nor broad-based, that does not create sustainable jobs, that it creates few opportunities for the young and women, has no resilience. Sub-Saharan Africa is now producing around 5 million new university graduates a year. The numbers are much higher in North Africa, but the gap between the expectations created through university education and the economic opportunities actually delivered is very high. Last Thursday, with Tunisian officials, I visited the town and region of Ekef in western Tunisia, one of the poorest regions of the country. There I met with civil society organizations, including those representing unemployed graduates. I learned, for example, that while university graduates were having difficulties entering the labor market, those from vocational training centers have a better chance. These are complex questions for which there are not straightforward answers. This afternoon at the Governors' Dialogue, to which I very much look forward to, we will explore the broader framework and the implications for our work at the bank. We are pleased to hear from you. Your guidance as we begin to craft our long-term vision is crucial. But in anticipation of that dialogue, let me put some thoughts on the table. The young people rioting in the streets of North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa are without any doubt protesting about lack of jobs and opportunities. But their struggle is broader than bread and butter. It is also about freedoms and opportunities. African people are demanding a say in how they are governed. All nations the world over at this time face a degree of economic and social challenges. The people of Africa, its youth, fully understand that. They know that unemployment cannot be eliminated so easily. What they are questioning is the quality of the leadership and institutions charged with managing those issues. Because they know that only accountable institutions have capacities to credibly communicate with the people they serve and explain the difficulties. Because they have the necessary trust premium, so to speak, and so essential in difficult times. Therefore, the starting point on the agenda for inclusive growth must be strong, accountable institutions. For the rest, we roughly know some of the key ingredients of an inclusive agenda. Among them, boosting agricultural productivity for small farmers, majority of whom are women. Supporting small businesses, including the informal sector. The real creators of wealth. Expanding access to quality education. Providing access to water and sanitation. And here I want to thank our partners in our water initiatives, including our good friend Michel Camdessu, who was with us yesterday. I also wish to acknowledge the strong cooperation with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their contribution of $12 million to the African Water Facility. Gender equality, especially moving, as the Tunisian young people told me, from equality on paper to equality on accessing opportunities. A minimum of safety nets for families to deal with shocks such as the deadly combination of rising food and oil prices at a time when family or community-based solidarity networks are diminished by urbanization. Getting governments closer to the people, ensuring effective decentralization and empowering local communities. Strengthening anti-corruption, which is also a tax on development, and an obscene tax on the poor. How to make finance work for the poor, including migrant transfers, now totaling nearly $40 billion a year. Leveraging technology. We have the example of how mobile phone penetration has increased access by the poor to banking services, to education, to health, and market information. And dealing, above all, with the Dutch disease. The natural resource curves, which generates impressive high growth numbers, side by side with massive poverty levels. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, these are domains in which the bank has significant experience. Nonetheless, it is germane now to ask, what is it that we will do more, both in scale and scope, or that we will do differently? We are not naive to imagine there are easy answers. There will be major policy choices and trade-offs, and we will need political will, determination to think out of the box, to challenge orthodoxies. Ladies and gentlemen, last year in Abidjan, you endorsed our current medium-term strategy. How else can we have inclusive growth unless the small businesses can access reliable, affordable energy, get their produce to the market, reduce post-harvest losses? The same goes for our focus on the fragile states. There cannot be inclusion until we can bring back millions of people trapped in poverty and conflict-affected areas into the mainstream of the economy. But we must also be ready to deal with new forms of poverty. A recent study by staff of the bank shows that many people who live above $2 a day, so technically above the poverty levels, actually the floating poor. All it takes is a shock event, such as the death in the family, the job loss, and they easily fall back into poverty, why they are called the floating poor. Through our policy-based loans, we will seek more effective ways to support sub-national level programs in the provinces, municipalities, closer to the people.